Well, hi there. This is Dave, and welcome back to Mars X3D. It's important to understand that the entire community of researchers contributes to this quest. I'll always try to give credit whenever possible, but you know what? I'll probably mess up on that score sooner rather than later. World class researchers like Martine Graney, Neville Thompson, Will Ferrar, Thomas Jensen, and so many more of my colleagues around the world bring their own unique insight, their own discoveries, and their own processing techniques to all of us on a daily basis. While I have discovered hundreds of anomalies on my own, just like the rest of the serious researchers around the world, I make no claim to be the only guy to discover any particular anomaly in my presentations. I do claim to be just about the only guy actively processing 3D anomalies, and I am passionate about presenting them to the larger community. It seems silly to quibble about who discovered what. I mean, these are public images funded by our tax dollars, and trust me, they may not talk about it, but NASA, JPL, and Caltech have been processing and cataloging these anomalies for decades, well before any of us got into it. So really, if anybody's got a claim to be the first to discover an anomaly, it'd be them. If I offend anyone out there by presenting something you feel belongs to you and you alone, well, my apologies. But the consistent disclosure of evidence through X3D stereo images, in my opinion, is more important than petty ego-driven concerns. And just so you know, I never use any other researcher's material except in very rare collaborations, and of course, those collaborations are fully credited, both on screen and off. I process everything myself. You probably don't know, but the entire process of X3D processing is pretty labor intensive from start to finish and involves many, many hours of work. But it's work that I love and work that I'm passionate about. So enough talk. Let's go to Mars. There's something casting a long shadow in the lower right-hand corner. As we move into the detailed view, we can see a long, narrow stone about 5 feet long that rests against a curved container. Now, this container appears to be hollow. It has a perfectly rectangular opening and a pointed lip on the left side. And that's a heavy stone resting right on top of it. So I'm guessing that this container, so to speak, is made of rugged material, maybe stone or more likely metal. It doesn't show any indication of deformation or bending from the stone's weight. So what was its purpose? To me, it looks like a protective cap that goes over an industrial pulley or belt assembly. And why the round end? This is a very strange one, but clearly this is a manufactured item. It would be interesting to learn how this thing and the boulder that pins it to the sand came to rest in the position they did. This next context view is from the low-resolution N34 camera, but we're lucky because the anomaly we're looking for is right in front on the lower right. Moving into the detailed view, I really love the sensuous symmetry of this beautifully carved triangular block. I mean, look at the razor-sharp lines and French curves. It shows a high degree of skill. And in the upper right-hand corner, what could be a bust, a rather alien-looking bust, stares upward at the sky. A small box with a candy cane-shaped lip lies just in front of it. Moving in for a really close look, you can see this thing is a work of art. Other smaller, anomalous pieces lie scattered about. And perhaps one day we'll collate all the different types of blocks that have been discovered and present it for your consideration. Another project. This next set of images is from Curiosity's stereo nav cams. There are artifacts all over the place, but the two circled items are the ones we're going to take a closer look at. On the left, two prism-shaped objects, and on the right, a strangely symmetrical item that appears to have a glyph on it. Look at that prism-shaped triangle in back. It's got straight, even borders or maybe flanges that run up the sides, and at the rear they seem to enter some kind of mounting plate. The close end is perfectly triangular and has regularly spaced holes. Now, coming forward a bit, a face-shaped object seems curious enough to mark for observation, but it's probably just a rock that's been fortuitously carved. In front, though, is a different matter. There's another prism-shaped object that shows symmetry, borders and holes all along its right side and on its close end. Our next zoom takes us into the breakup point for a really close look. You be the judge. Is that natural or is it artificial? Moving on to the object on the right, we see what could be a cross-section of an airfoil. On top, the V-shaped glyph, which has been found on so many anomalous objects, makes yet another appearance. Zooming in for a closer look, both the right end and the side closer to us appear to be honeycombed. So what are we looking at here? Who knows? It's easy to let the imagination wander, but one thing is for certain. NASA isn't the least bit curious. In this next context view, do you see how your eyes are immediately drawn to the square shape lying about halfway up on the left side? Let's zoom in for a closer look, and we can see that the entire hillside is littered with, I think, industrial debris. For our purposes right now, we'll take a closer look at the main items that have been designated with dot locators, starting from left to right. First, there's a rectangular piece of equipment that shows not only a clear framework, but repeated 90-degree angles along with projecting pieces that catch the sunlight. To the right, a large sunlit square of what looks like bent or twisted metal that has a regular sawtooth edge on the left. Now, details are lost in the shadows, but it appears to be a partial cube. In front and to the right, a piece showing uniform thickness, right angles, kind of a French curve on top, and what may be a machined hole on the right side. And finally, on the right, an item of indiscriminate shape sporting rivets and various projections, including what appears to be a handle. That gives every indication of being artificial. In our final zoom, we get as close as possible before the image completely degrades. In the background, you can see additional debris littering the hillside. Okay, we're going to wrap things up today with two examples of what I feel are ironclad proof of previous civilization. Now, there are a lot of things marked in this context view, but we're going to focus our concentration on the scalloped block you see on the left. Look at that beautifully scalloped building block. Even without the scalloping on its front edge, it'd be a great example of a block shaped by intelligence. The scalloping just drives home the point with a jackhammer, intelligently made. To the immediate left, a beautiful triangular block with a lip running all along its visible edges and, of course, recessed center portions. Directly in front of the black triangle, what appears to be a ring pokes through the sand. In the lower right-hand corner, we have what could be a broken hinge. Besides the obvious right angles, notice the two protrusions on the left side. That looks like hinge work, to my eyes. And above that, two more sharply defined blocks make it clear that somewhere nearby, a building collapsed. Occasionally, you run across an anomaly that is so clear-cut, so concise, that it virtually shuts down any further argument. In this context view, we see just such an item, and it lies in the lower right-hand corner. By the way, before going to the zoom, take a look at that beautiful blue sky in the background. You know, for years, NASA put that pukey red-brown color over every single photograph, terrified that we poor, unwashed masses might discover that Mars is actually quite Earth-like in many respects. Those of us who did color corrections based upon the rover's calibration discs had already known for years that the sky was no different than Earth. Then, slowly, NASA began to release images showing the sky as it is. Some thought it part of the slow disclosure process. Others that maybe budgetary considerations meant less time for their typical tomfoolery with the publicly funded and publicly owned images that they purposely issued in low-res, off-register JPEGs. Who knows? Whatever the actual motivation might be, just be assured that despite the effort to shunt attention away from the red planet, Mars has blue sky, clouds, rain, wind, running water, liquid water everywhere, trees, animals, humanoids, and a breathable atmosphere. Take a look at this detailed view. I mean, come on. How crisp and clean do you want your evidence to be? Let's make a list. Dead center, a frame-like box, weathered by wind and sand, but clearly manufactured. Just below it, a rectangular piece with two knobs on the left end. To the left of that, a square, black block covered with carving. Along the top of the block, a white piece, curved to fit around the top edge. Just off the right corner of the ladder, a cubical piece half buried in the sand, carving on the visible surfaces. Directly above that, a black rectangular piece hollowed out and appearing to be made of corroded metal. And finally, resting inside the right corner of the black box, a perfectly rectangular piece with a lip that appears to be made either of aluminum or a completely different stone than the surrounding geology. That's a whole bunch of stuff in one small area. And guess what? This is not by chance. Researchers the world over find clear evidence of a vanished civilization on Mars as part of their daily routine. While I only present the items which seem crisp, so to speak, and clear-cut to me, those that are a bit more ambivalent but that I know in my heart to represent legitimate evidence of past civilization number quite literally in the thousands. The numbers are on our side, folks. Hey, thanks for stopping by and having a look today. There is a whole lot more to come. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And in the meantime, this is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D. Be well.